shores of Zed TV and the innovative realms of Zed Digital and the incubation of advanced technological knowledge at Zed Tech, every facet of modern media is meticulously curated to engage and inspire. Also, don't forget the New Finder newspaper, now under the Zed Multimedia umbrella, delivering insightful journalism with a business focus. Join us on the journey where innovation meets inspiration, where lifestyle meets leisure, and where business thrives. Change is here. Zed Multimedia, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform.
Asampayetia Obayansa fuso obunuye wankana asam Tema futu sam kakre wa supeme Yo kofi oman ya woman Omani ya memana Genyi baby ako Wacha za ya warenyi Wonsom wanyinyi pa Azadi pa wofyo ye Demo yembera ye Ebe ya ifiyena Omaya umano Omaya mamana Adiwaye nora Nyamichata Yemana renya Wonso wanyinyi pa Sawa ya wanabe Demo yembera ye Ebe ya ifiyena Wonso wanyinyi pa Azadipa ofyo yo Kamo yembera ye Ebe ya ifiyena Ama be ya ifiyena Ama be yo Asite be ya ifiyena Oh Ama be ya ifiyena Yena Kamo yembera ye Ebe ya Obra you arabo Ama be ya ifiyena Emina Kamo yembera ye Ebe ya ifiyena Ese Ama be ya ifiyena Obra ya we sabe ya ifiyena ro Ao Ama be ya ifiyena Yamo yembera ye Ebe ya Yamoni ye Ama be ya ifiyena Abra ya boya Yamo yembera ye Ebe ya Ama ebe yo Ama be ya ifiyena Abra you arabo Yamo yembera ye Ebe ya ifiyena Sikanye bredo wafa
It's today, the 18th day of July 2026, in the year of our Lord. Good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers. You're welcome to the Focus on Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform. Today on the Focus, we're going to be considering what has been considered as a rather ambitious target of government to end Ghana's dependence on imported tomatoes within the next 4 months. So today we're looking at tomato self-sufficiency and whether Ghana can end its dependence on imports within the next 4 months. Admittedly, tomatoes are among the most widely consumed food commodities in Ghana, and yet the country continues to rely heavily on imports to meet its domestic demand. In fact, the statistics show that every year we spend millions of dollars. We consume about 1 million tons of tomatoes, and we spend so much importing fresh tomatoes and processing tomato products from our neighboring countries. Now, the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Honorable Puku, has now set that ambitious target that for the next or after the next 4 months, we as a country, we're no longer going to import. Do you think that is a realistic target? Do you think there's something we can meet? Or do you think it is even feasible And do you think that it's in the right direction? Should we cut relations with our neighboring countries like Burkina Faso just because we want to produce our own products? We're going to be looking at it today. Another topic again, tomato self-sufficiency and whether Ghana can end its dependence on imports within 4 months. Politically, is it a thing that is expedient? Economically, is it wise for us to do that? My guests would join me in studio to have this conversation. You can also share your thoughts on this matter on our WhatsApp line 0544321019. 0544321019. You can join us on our YouTube Zed Multimedia, or if you want to listen to us on the internet, you can join us on www.zmultimedia.com. So you can go into your Google Chrome or any browser and type www.zmultimedia.com. You see an icon come up, say listen, can easily click and you'd have us live there. My name is Kweku Atakra Jumo and I'm your host. We'll take a very short breather, and when we come back, we'll take news from around the world. Do not go away.
Business Radio.
could I ever prepare you? Jesus is taking the pains away from me. And you give me the victory. Yeah, yeah. Everywhere I go, blessings follow. Everything I do, favor follow the Lord. Kings are coming to my rise. I'm moving higher. By the grace of God, I love my, increasing my, everywhere I go, everywhere I go.
Focus on Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform. You can join our WhatsApp line on 0544321019, 0544321019. You can join us also online at Zed Multimedia. And if you want to listen to us on our online radio, you can join us on www.zmultimedia.com. For news around the world, in US, the US President Donald Trump has accused China of interfering in the 2020 presidential election and raised concerns about the security of American voting systems ahead of this year's midterm elections. In a televised address from the White House, President Trump claimed he had released intelligence documents supporting allegations that Beijing attempted to influence the election in favor of Joe Biden. However, previous assessments by the U.S. intelligence community concluded that China did not interfere in the 2020 presidential election. China has rejected Trump's claims, describing them as false allegations and saying they have no basis. During a speech, Trump accused China of obtaining millions of voter records and alleged that voting systems remain vulnerable to foreign interference. He did not provide evidence that the data was used to change election results. Democratic leaders accused the president of undermining public confidence in the electoral system ahead of the November midterm elections, which will determine control of Congress. In Sudan, Sudan's Human Resources and Social Development Minister says more than 3 years of war have deeply changed the country's population patterns, affecting where people live, work, and access basic services. The conflict between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces began in April 2023, and it has displaced more than 11 million people, creating one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Minister Mutasim Ahmed Salah says the war has increased poverty, disrupted livelihoods, weakened public services, and caused major losses in the country's workforce. Millions of Sudanese have been forced to flee their homes, with many seeking refuge in neighboring countries including Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan. Others have moved to cities that are struggling to cope with sudden increase in population. Experts say the conflict has emptied some areas of residents while placing pressure on others, creating a major imbalance in population distribution. In Europe also, Germany has renewed calls for the European Union to deploy a force to Lebanon after the planned withdrawal of United Nations peacekeepers from the country's south. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadiful says an EU mission could help prevent a security vacuum once the UN interim force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, ends its nearly 5-decade presence at the end of the year. Wadiful says the proposed force will support the withdrawal of Israeli troops from southern Lebanon while preventing Hezbollah from building its military presence in the area. Tensions remain high between Israel and Hezbollah. Despite a ceasefire agreement, Israel has continued carrying out strikes in Lebanon, saying they target the Iran-backed armed group, while Hezbollah has carried out attacks across the border into northern Israel. UNIFIL was first deployed in 1978 following Israel's initial invasion of Lebanon. The mission has faced criticism over its ability to prevent repeated conflicts between Israel and Hezbollah. In Ghana, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Puku, says Ghana spends about $350 million every year importing poultry products, a situation he believes is limiting the growth of the local poultry industry. He says the funds could instead be invested in expanding domestic production, creating jobs, and strengthening the agricultural value chain. The minister explained that government is using the Nkukwan Kitinkiti program to boost local production in poultry and reduce dependence on imported chicken. He said the initiative is expected to increase the consumption of locally produced poultry while supporting employment opportunities for farmers and young people. According to him, the next phase of the program will focus on helping medium-scale poultry farmers expanding their operations through government support. He added that strengthening local production remains key to achieving a sustainable and competitive poultry industry. The Ghana Grid Company Limited, in collaboration with the Electricity Company of Ghana, will begin a major upgrade of the Kumasi-Ahomaso transmission line on July 20. The three-man project is expected to increase the line's capacity from 364 megawatts to 1,000 megawatts to meet Kumasi's growing electricity demand and improve the reliability of power supply. Residents are expected to experience temporary power outages during the construction period. Energy and Green Transition Minister Dr. John Abdullahi Janapo says the project is critical to preventing future pressure on the national grid and ensuring a stable electricity supply. He also raised concerns about encroachment on Gridco's transmission corridor, which continues to threaten infrastructure. The project will also include the upgrading of transformers at the Ahonjo substation to support the expanded transmission capacity and improve electricity distribution. Many thanks for joining us to the Focus on Zed 101.9 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, we'll launch into the conversation today of tomato self-sufficiency and whether Ghana can end its dependence on imports within 4 months. And as I mentioned earlier, you can send in your comments or your thoughts on this topic to our WhatsApp line 0544-321019, 0544-321019. Or you can also join us on YouTube. You can send your comments there. We're happy to take them. We'll take a very short break here. Do not go away.
Zed 101.
lifestyle, leisure, and business platform. Today, our main conversation is going to focus on tomato self-sufficiency. We're looking at whether Ghana can end its dependence on imports within 4 months. As mentioned earlier, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Honorable Eric Opoku, has set an ambitious target of ending Ghana's dependency on imported tomatoes within the next 4 months. There's been a lot of concerns about this target which has been set. Some people say, no, this is not possible for us to end that which we have been doing for years in just 4 months. Others have said also that we need to take that bold step, because if we are going to get to the place we want as Ghanaians, we must get to a place of food sufficiency. Now I'm going to have this conversation with Dr. Daniel Basie Jr., who is an organic agronomist and a soil management expert. Later, I'll be joined in studio by Benjamin Jan Kese, who is the Executive Director, Cosmos Innovation Center. Dr. Basie, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I hope you've had a very good week.
Yes, the week was okay. Yes, quite challenging, a lot of activities, but the week is good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now moving to the main conversation in looking at tomato self-sufficiency. I mean, you are the agricultural expert. You know a bit more of food production. Maybe tell us, what is the situation of tomato production in Ghana?
I will start giving you a bit of a history. You know, Ghana, we started doing so well in tomato back in time. Our former tomato hub used to be the Winchi Enclave, and also some parts in the northern region, that is to say, the Upper East Enclave. We were doing so well in tomato production back in time. And for whatever reason, there was some limitations that started, cropping up. Then we started seeing some influx of imports. But to also tell you why and also the sources, how we started with the influx of the import from our neighboring country, Burkina Faso, to be precise. Burkina Faso has a history of their agriculture systems. And it started by their former Prime Minister, Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara, as part of his ruling as a leader in Burkina Faso, he was really pushing for food sustainability and food sufficiency. And he is a very strong and powerful Pan-Africanist, making sure that Burkina Faso should own its own food, grow its own food. They shouldn't be relying on food coming from their colonial masters, which is France. And there shouldn't be any food coming from anywhere. And he has so many very strong belief and understanding regarding that particular phenomenon that he was persuading. And he was making sure Burkina Faso, whatever it is, when it comes in terms of food, they should be self-sufficient. And back in time, Burkina Faso, with their leader Thomas Sankara, was having a very healthy relationship with Ghana. That is our former late president, may he so rest in peace, President Jerry John Rawlings, back in time. So out of that relationship, Ghana was a bit ahead in terms of education, formal education. So Burkina Faso came down to Ghana to have some education regarding the science behind farming. That is University of Cape Coast, Asakawa Center. That is where Burkina Faso came to learn and understand the science behind farming or the science behind agriculture.
So you're saying that Burkina Faso, that we are so much importing from, they learned it from us?
Absolutely. They came to learn over here.
So until then, they were not into heavy production of tomato and these things?
No. With what I'm saying, with that history, for everybody to understand how the whole thing started. So when they came to Ghana to learn the science behind farming, the science behind agriculture, University of Cape Coast also have their very good records when it comes in terms of agriculture. That is why they have the Sasakawa Center. That is really very strong and formidable when it comes in terms of agriculture, crops and livestock and all that. When they came to learn all of this and they went back to Burkina Faso, they tend to practice whatever they came to learn over here at University of Cape Coast. Then they brought us some samples for us to see that, oh, when we came to Ghana, with all the very good, practical teachings that we had, this is what we are able to produce. Can you have a look at it and have a taste of it, whether it fits perfectly with reference to what we came to learn? So when we had those samples and we started having a taste of it, then we went ahead to tell them for them to do a little bit more in helping them to build their tomato consumption, in helping them to build their market when it comes in terms of tomato consumption. That is where it started. They kept on bringing some of them to us to also, add it up to what we are producing and have that cordial relationship when it comes in terms of trade. So that is the genesis of it. Gradually, we started developing the taste for those tomatoes coming from Burkina Faso. Then it went on. And we were not careful enough. Instead of us to make sure that we are still having our own, maybe in addition to what Burkina Faso is bringing, we started neglecting and pushing our own away and welcoming the Burkina Faso tomatoes. That is how it started. So our Wenchi guys over there and also the farmers around Polugu in the Upper East, they realized that the tomatoes that we were producing and bringing over to the highly populated areas, Accra, Kumasi, whatever the demand started dropping. And definitely as a farmer, whatever you are producing, when the demand starts dropping, it discourages you. It is either pushing you towards something else you need to be producing, or it will rather take you entirely out of farming. And that is how it started building up. Then the next moment, the influx of it started building up very quickly. This is very, very, very important for every Ghanaian to understand and know, so that we don't necessarily point fingers at Ghanaian tomato farmers and be accusing them, quote unquote, or be saying that Ghanaian farmers, why are they not producing tomato? We can produce tomato in Ghana. Why are we bringing tomato from Burkina Faso? All those things. This is how it started. So it is for everybody to really understand how the whole thing started cropping up.
Right. There's some good history, and it's quite astonishing to know that we were producing, the Burkinabes came here to learn from us.
Yeah.
And now they are our major, we import the most from them regarding tomatoes. That's worrying, if I must say. But I must mention also that I've been joined in studio by Benjamin Jan Kese, who is Executive Director, Cosmos Innovation Center. Mr. Jan Kese, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Right, so we're just having a conversation on the tomato self-sufficiency. We are just started by looking at the nature and situation of tomato production in Ghana. And Dr. Basie has been telling us, I mean, I find it as a rather worrying history that the Burkina Faso, that we have so much depended on them, they learned their science or the science of agriculture or production from us, just from UCC. Maybe let me find out from you also, from where you sit, what is the nature of tomato production in Ghana?
Well, I think we shouldn't be surprised by the story Doctor is sharing with us. I mean, if you go into the oil palm industry, it's almost about the same story.
Is it?
Ghana, Malaysia.
They came to learn it from us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And if you go to Malaysia, and you look at how they have picked up the oil palm industry and the various, the long value chain of that oil palm industry or palm oil industry, what they can use it for, etc., you'll be amazed. And it's a huge, huge, huge thing in Malaysia. So this goes way to tell you something. How do we see agriculture in our country?
Yeah.
And it is basically not just a crop thing. It's about a mindset thing as a country.
But even in that mindset, I mean, then I'm tempted to ask, looking at the tomato situation and the oil palm you just mentioned, was it because of a strategic decision, a strategic move that we decided that maybe let's do a strategic partnership, like what we are told in economics, this comparative advantage theory? Maybe we decide that let's reduce our production here so we can increase in other space. Was this something like that?
I don't think so. What I believe happened is people seeking knowledge. Well, you're doing well in this. Again, let us look at the flip side. Cocoa. How did cocoa get here? Ghana is number 2, right?
Yeah.
So, Fernando Po, what's their position globally when it comes to cocoa production? So it's about you seeing value in what you do or what you have, and the approach that you take to it. And basically what I've always said is that we have not really taken the science and business of agriculture very seriously.
Absolutely.
And therefore, we are in a situation now we are trying to play catch up. And the world is moving at a speed where playing catch up, you are going to chop last, as it were. And if you really want to catch up, you need a really strategic and intentional and sustained effort.
Possibly
Not
a bold
just-
one too.
Not just sound bites, right? We play around agriculture with sound bites. And I'm just going to answer these questions in multiple ways. What is the situation? The situation is that currently we are spending a lot of money importing tomatoes. Some even to the extent of posing security risk to our own nationals. The economics of food we haven't taken very seriously. And the impact. So we're talking here about food sovereignty. We're talking here about food security first, food sovereignty. Now, who really have the what do you call it, the codes for the seeds of the tomatoes that we have here?
Yeah.
Where are we getting them from? Let's start it from there. Who produces the seeds for you? Do you have tomato experts who will be on the ground at Akumadan, Wenchi, all those areas that does all those beautiful tomatoes? Do you have the ministries having experts within the extension officers stream who says, I am focused on tomatoes and making sure that within this area, I am giving the best tomato advice? So the situation is not a today situation. It's basically a systematic failure. And with all the conversations currently happening around tomatoes,
Yeah.
we just have to admit that we have failed, and we need to build a holistic system and an approach to be able to rectify the situation and make sure that we are tomato secured and sovereignty as well. But it is not just about producing the fresh tomatoes. It's about the whole value chain up to even concentrate, paste, etc.
But on the failure, where have we failed? Dr. Basie thinks that it is not the crop farmers who have failed. From your end, where did we fail? Is it, in that value chain, who or what went wrong?
Question is, what have we done in the past? And I give you a bit of my personal experience around tomatoes. As a young farmer, I was living in Akumadan. I went to set up a farm in Akumadan.
Okay.
When you talk about Akumadan, you're talking about one of the tomato growing areas.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience with tomatoes. And I was doing a different crop. But I saw how these young people, the young men, young women are getting into the agriculture, into the tomatoes producing. And I saw how the women would come and buy from these young fellas. One evening around 6:30, and you see that these tomato farmers would have packed their tomato crates, the harvested one, waiting for someone coming from Kumasi or Accra with a truck to buy. They walk and then they decide whether they want to buy this or they want to buy that, and they just put the money on their boxes and then you collect. If your box gets some cash, you pick it. They've negotiated the price, they're giving you that money, and that's it. What if they do not buy? In Akumadan, 10 or so, Wenchi, Chobodom, wherever, where is that storage system for the young person to say, if you're not giving me a good rate, I'll be able to store these tomatoes for at least a week or two. So it's a whole system, and that's why I'm saying we don't have to pin it on one individual or group of individuals,
Right.
but we all have one way or the other field. Also, let us look at the broader picture when it comes to agriculture. Have we made agriculture very attractive such that the young person would want to really be in that space? And those are, now the big conversations that we really need to, if we want to really change the system, and when we say we're talking about the tomatoes economy, we need to figure out who do we need to be in there. Even the type of farmer we need there. Do we need the type of farmer who is about 60 years and should be on retirement? Or do we need a young farmer who is about 25, 30 years, who will be innovative and also very assertive in their thinking and be able to absorb the latest technology and all of that? For me, I think that is where the conversation should be looking at. How are we even treating our schools? We have been working with secondary schools across the country, and last year I worked with 700 secondary schools growing vegetables, and you'd be amazed how some of them are doing. St. John's Grammar School here in Accra, last year in our program that we ran, another MasterCard Foundation, they won their best school, and you know what they did? Because when I heard about this topic, I was quite excited. I really wish I should have brought these young people here.
Yeah.
They grew tomatoes, and they were selling tomatoes in Accra, the school fields.
Okay.
And when
They grew it on campus?
they grew it on campus, and guess what? When there was glut, these young students decided that we have a home economics department. We've been taught how to add value to things.
Yeah.
So let us start doing puree with our tomatoes. Let us powder.
They did it by themselves.
They did it by themselves.
Students.
And I'll be happy you just go there, walk there, or bring them to your studio, talk to them. They'll share their experiences with you. So the point is that, have we made agriculture attractive? Because if these young people are now going to go to their various homes and they are really, let's say that a few of them comes from Akumadan, for instance. When there's glut, they say, don't worry, we will know how to handle this. Most big food companies started from family homes.
Right.
And I think we are building a foundation that we need to start working on to have a bigger industry.
But I actually like where you come from on the fact that have we prepared our youth to take on agriculture? I mean, I guess today, from where you sit, if you talk of agriculture as a young person, you are seen as outmoded, you are seen as you are backward. If you tell anybody that I want to do, let's say, cabbage farming or tomato farming, I'm sure friends will laugh at you.
They will. And again, a personal story. So this is a story now I'm sharing publicly enough so that you get to understand how I try to want people to understand why we are where we are now.
Yeah.
It's a mindset thing. When I was growing up, my O levels I was studying accounting and economics, but I loved agriculture, and I told my parents that I wanted to go to agri college after O levels. My dad said, "Okay, when you are done with the A levels, then you still feel the way you feel. We'll look at the solution." So I went to continue my accounting stuff. And after A levels, I was still feeling that thing, and I said, I want to go to agri college. I love to do agri. My mother said no. So then she spoke to some of the church elders to have a word with me and pray for me. You see, she loves me. She had not seen in her lifetime farmers doing that well.
She envisages you sitting as a chartered accountant or as a banker with your tie, jacket, good perfume, seated in your car, air conditioned.
Exactly. Not a farmer.
Yeah.
But you see, when we look at the math, and then doctor will tell you how much an acre or a hectare of tomato can fetch you on a very good day. Somebody will sit in Accra and sweat and will not make that much money.
Oh, of
You
course.
talked about cabbage.
Of course.
Do you know the amount or the number of cabbage heads, the tonnage that restaurants, hotels are looking for, even the fast food joints are looking for? You see, so it is big business, but we haven't made it attractive enough.
Yeah.
And I think for me, for the past 10 years of my life, that is what I've dedicated myself to, trying to get young people to understand the possibilities of agribusiness. And we're doing some good so talk about tomatoes. There's a young guy who lived in Akumadan, grew up in Akumadan, left to one of the European countries and worked with a farm, and then the farm was also doing some first level processing. This guy and the wife decided to return. They came into one of our programs, and today, as we speak right now, they have built a factory in Akumadan, sourcing tomatoes, processing into purees and into powder.
Intriguing. I think you are doing some very good work there that, I mean, we're going to be talking a lot more about it during the show. Let me turn to you, Doctor. Mr. Jan Kese touched also a very key part of this conversation on storage. That we are producing a lot, but it looks like we have a problem of storage. So many of them will either have to reduce capacity because they know the products are going to go bad, or to actually go bad, or probably just sell it for a pittance. This thing of storage, we've had this conversation ever since. In fact, from the days of O levels through school, they asked factors affecting agriculture, lack of storage facilities. Example, silos. We haven't even seen what silos are, but we've learnt about it several times. For years, maybe for more than, I'm sure my father's time, they were learning it. Why is it that today, 2026, we still must have a conversation of a problem affecting, let's say, tomato production, and we still talk about lack of storage facilities? What is the problem? Is government just intentionally not supporting? Is it being provided that people are mismanaging it, or we just don't care?
There are so many things we are not understanding properly. I would like to pick my conversation from basic science.
Okay.
Understanding what is called storage. And also understanding what are we storing. Thirdly, we need to also look at consumption. The form and the state at which we prefer or we would like to consume certain foods. Is it a food that it is widely consumed raw? Is it a food that is widely consumed in a process or in a cooked form? We need to really understand this properly, and it calls for some level of baseline studies before we get out there to store whatever we are producing, in this case, tomato. The result or whatever information we get out of the baseline studies, then we tend to understand that when you speak to 10 Ghanaians regarding the way or how they want their tomato in terms of consumption, and out of 10, you get about 6, 7, 8 saying that they want it fresh.
Okay.
They want it raw. They want it grinded in an ethnic bowl with their binku or with their kinky for them to eat it as it is. The same people will say, oh, we want it so fresh when it's being used to prepare salads. We want it fresh when it's quickly blended out of the blender, and then we tend to drink it in the form of a syrup whatsoever. Then we have just about maybe 3 of them saying that we want it in a format which we can use it over a period of time. So this will inform you that when I'm preparing my storage facility or when I'm storing tomato, there's a quantity at which when I store, I'm making a lot of sense and I'm making a lot of progress. When I store so much and the rate of consumption is not too much of an interest when it is being stored. I mean, when you freeze it, when you process it into whatsoever it is, the demand for it is not encouraging.
Yeah.
Then it informs. Then it gets you, the producer, or it gets you, the farmer, to also figure out the target of these consumers. That when I produce, let's say, 5 metric tons of fresh tomatoes, 3 metric tons go to consumers who prefer it, consuming it fresh.
Right.
That 3 tons goes out there. Then I have 2 tons remaining. It gets into my storage facility. But if I quickly put all my 5 metric tons into a storage facility, I should understand that 3 tons out of it would not really meet up to the desire of my consumers out there. So it informs you when it comes to preservation, storage. Secondly, value addition. Is it necessary to add value? Is it necessary to add value at what percentage? All these things inform, and Mr. Kessie himself, he made mention a family that he knows that have come from abroad and they have their own storage facility, so on and so forth. I'm sure they've also really studied something like this to inform them how they can store their fresh tomatoes that is being produced or what they saw from tomato producers. So storage always go according to what the consumers are looking at for. We don't just say that, okay, well, we are storing because...
But whichever way it is, maybe because of the lack of storage, we still have to import to augment the production we have. So whether it's for, the processed tomato or for the fresh ones, either way, we still must import to support it. So then, won't we have to look at the data? That let's say we have 15% of the population demanding for, let's say, fresh tomato, 20% demanding for processed, then we know how to apportion the storage facilities accordingly so that we can be self-sufficient.
Absolutely. As I rightly said, then it informs.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if we need government intervention for storage of perishable foods, in this case, tomato, then it informs government that I can intervene in this area because of the quantity and the percentage of storage or the produce that we are looking at for in terms of storage. Okay, that thing needs to be looked at very, very, very critically. For instance, let's use a produce like cocoa. No one consumes cocoa fresh. The cocoa beans need to go through a whole processing activity. Then it's processed into whatever end product, the cocoa powder, the chocolate, and what have you. Therefore, when we look at something like cocoa, storage is the number one aspect of it. That is why our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, put a very huge storage to store cocoa because that is how it is. It cannot be consumed raw. When it comes in terms of perishables, a lot of them is preferred consumed raw. That is why I would like us to understand when we are talking about storage, what is the quantum at which we are storing, depending on the demand on the market, how consumers prefer their fresh produce, the way they want to consume it, the way they want to eat it. But all the same, storage is key because perishables, as we all know, they have a very short lifespan, regardless whether they are really organic or they are not even organic. Shelf life cut across. So far they are perishable naturally. You can't keep them for so long. And also, the more you store it for much longer periods, the health and nutritional value of that produce is also compromised in one reason or two. That is why when it gets to processing and so on and so forth, some additives are being added to maintain its health and nutritional value addition. But also it gets into health and nutrition. I don't want to dive so much into that. But we need to understand that perishables and the way we want to consume it, we are looking at how healthy it is. The reason why most people would like to consume their perishables raw is that they want the health and nutritional benefit of it. Everybody will say that, oh, when you consume cabbage raw, it is being cut into salads and all that, is the best at whatever you are looking at for. When you are consuming tomato and the tomato is in a fresh form, whatever nutritional value there, like a lycopene value thing that you're looking at for, you get it as the way it's supposed to, as compared to if it is processed into the paste or it's processed into any other form. It reduces the health and the nutritional value that the consumer is looking out for. All these things are key, very, 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 very important, so that we can know that we are storing at what quantity. We are giving it out there to the public consumption at what quantity.
Right.
This is very, very important. We need to have to look at.
Representative Jankesi, let me hear your thoughts on this storage issue. Doctor seems to come from a position of we need to look at the data to know where to apply. But I get a sense from doctors' submission that it looks more like we must maybe rather create the market for it. I get a sense of that. What do you think about this issue of storage facilities, which is affecting production?
Well, data by all means, we need that, and we need to work with the data. So for me, I'll look at the storage from maybe the whole value chain perspective, from the farmers, from the farm gate. If I'm harvesting this evening and my buyer comes in tomorrow morning, where do I store it? How do I store it?
Yeah.
So that it gives me the opportunity to be showcasing very fresh produce. Very fresh produce to give me some good prices, right? So that storage at the farm gate or on the farm is important. Now the question is, what type of storage are we talking about? I think most of the time when we talk about storage, first thing our minds go to is like a huge facility with all these things.
Sophisticated.
This day and age, and forgive me if I throw organizations' names because I've worked with many young people in these spaces, so I think it's important that we direct people's attention to what's going on in this country. DTI, they had one of their innovators using a charcoal storage system, the whole design of the storage system. And when I saw it, the first thing that came to my mind, interestingly, was stuff like tomatoes.
Right.
That even with this, a regular farmer in the community can actually save some 2 days, or can buy some 2 days before their produce moves to the market. There's another.
But how is it done, the charcoal one?
So it's actually a whole technology around that, right? So it provides some cooling system. So there's a whole cage, like they build like a whole system with charcoal in it, and
like
I think it
charcoal.
helps.
The charcoal,
yes, the regular
using,
charcoal, yes, and there are driplets of water that also helps it to cool it.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm saying. How are we really tapping into the innovations there? The deep thinking of our young folks. You'll be amazed. There's another young.
When this technology is by the young people.
Yeah, this by young. It is not. So they went through a program.
Yeah.
They've learned that.
And as part of their maybe like their graduation,
their graduation,
their capstone.
That was what they displayed.
Interesting.
Yes.
In Ghana.
In Ghana, there's another young person that became part of our program. He had done this at KNU as a similar, and was able to improve shelf life by 2 extra weeks. So there are many young people out there. There's another guy, Aku Fresh. Your dog may have heard his name.
Yeah.
He's just leveraging on Aboboya.
Okay.
So this is a mobile storage unit. So what I'm saying is this: when we talk about this storage, don't think too big.
But I'm curious, how is he doing that with Aboboya?
With Aboboya, he built on the Aboboya with like a solar. So now he has his own. So he built the solar, and he built the whole system, the cooling system that he's able to use it. So he can actually set it in a community and move the produce to maybe market for you or etc. There are others that we work with in the Cape Coast. They are doing and see the indigenous knowledge on preservation, storage. They are there. We're not tapping into them. Some of the young fellas are using that to increase shelf life of fruits and vegetables in Cape Coast and other places. So we shouldn't think too large that we need this technology, that technology. We have a huge setup. Sometimes a setup of less than maybe 20,000 cities could be able to save as much as 1 million cities. So it is about how we leverage on today's technologies so that we can really do these things fast. Now talking about now farm gate, transportation. What are we doing when it comes to the transportation? The crates and all of that. They are all part of the storage processes. when it gets to the market. Because if, and then doctor talked about data, the data would also give you pointers that you get a more spoilage at the market or the person, the wholesaler or the retailer than even at the farm gate. Because they would have to deal with, after the thing have traveled, the tomatoes traveled from the farm, the bruises and all of that. From that time, deterioration is really quick. So what are the market storage systems that these women, the market queens, the market women can actually store? And I just throw in another thing here. One of some of our young fellows, what they did was they were trying to work with the market women at Agbogbloshie, so that they can have storage systems inside Agbogbloshie, so that if you're not able to sell all your tomatoes today, when you're going home, you can
just keep it there.
Them there.
That's the right thinking.
Question is, where do they keep their tomatoes when they are not able to sell them?
True.
So the storage is the storage also has its own value chain, and we should respect that.
Like on the market, there's a need for a storage facility.
Like Doctor said, there are a lot of data points that we need to learn and play with that to come with solutions so that we can actually solve that. So imagine we're reducing all these losses that we're having on the farm, through transportation, on the market by, let's say, 60%. Then maybe whatever it is that we're importing, we're not going to be importing that much. So when we talk about storage, we shouldn't be looking at the big silos and all that, but it's actually a whole system and a process that we need to pay attention to. And there are actually some solutions. And for me, I'll just throw it out there. It is a business opportunity. That is the part that we haven't done well. We haven't shown that these challenges also provide business opportunities for many people. And we need to now start talking about it, that look, just like you have a truck that is actually maybe transporting frozen foods here and there is also another sector, another industry that you can be using those trucks or other things to do. There are also opportunities in small storage systems. Let's say I have a storage system at Adenta, and I'm serving, let's say, Medina market and other markets closer, or maybe between Dome market and Medina. I have a storage system somewhere, maybe around Abuba, so that market women can come and then store their stuff there, and then I will just be giving it to them. I'm just throwing things out there. And that is basically the kind of job that I do, that's showing you opportunities in the value chain that you can tap into, so that you can also make money in the value chain. Because you see, if we're seeing agriculture as a business, all these conversations, I think we will not really be paying attention. We'll not be having them. We'll be looking at advancing what we're already doing. It's a business, and there are a lot of business opportunities in this chaos.
Interesting. I really like the thinking that's going into using or tapping into the knowledge of, even this time, our young folks with just probably some small initial capital and what they are building. Now, you made mention also of transportation issues, but I find it's quite curious for me why we have transportation issues, because we easily take trucks to Burkina Faso, which is definitely farther than Akumadan or any of these areas. Now, why can't we just easily channel the transportation that is coming from Burkina Faso to Akumadan to easily bring it down south, or bring it to take it to any markets that we would have taken it to?
Saint Doc mentioned something earlier. What am I transporting? Tomatoes. What kind of tomatoes am I transporting? Is the market ready for that? So you see, it's a whole system issues, and so it's not just one thing that will fix that issue. These are rational business people. Don't mistake it. These women, they know exactly what they read the market. They know what their customers want.
Yeah.
So they want to put their penny where they are going to get rewards. So yes, I am transporting stuff from Burkina. I can stop over at Akumadan, Wenchi, or somewhere, or do a detour through some part in Sunyani and come with. But question is, what am I going to get out of it? Is it worth it? So then let us go reverse and say, what are we missing? And fix that. We're talking about the market demands on certain quality and certain standards within the tomatoes. Are we producing those kind of tomatoes? And when it even comes to, and we talk about maybe stretching it to even the processing. We talk about the factories are not taking the tomatoes we produce, and the factories don't. Have you discussed with the factories to understand what kind of tomatoes they want, the industrial tomatoes, and are you willing to produce it in that with that standard? You know, so there are so many things, and do we even have the seeds? We have Waki at the University of Ghana here, and I'm not putting anybody on spot, but how are we even getting them involved on the ground to make sure that they are helping us get the seeds that the market wants?
Right.
You know, so we have the scientists, we have the farmers, we have the transporters, we have the haulage, storage, we have the market women, we have the processors. So there's so many people in there. Are we really putting all these group of people together and having one common goal?
Interesting. Doctor, I think I have a question for you from online. In speaking of the demand, so the question is that how do we define, or what do we define as demand or consumption? And is it only domestic where the fresh produce is relevant? Data, do we have it? So that if you're talking about the data on consumption, which will affect the storage, this question is asking whether we should only be focused on just our domestic consumption data. So that when people here say they want fresh, okay, no problem. But we're thinking of only Ghana to say then that we are producing fresh products for the Ghanaian market only.
Tomato per se, over here in Ghana, we shouldn't look at the international market because
we shouldn't.
Because which market are you looking at for? Ghana, we do a lot of export to the EU market. We do a lot of export to
But
Asia.
Morocco and the rest, where we export from Burkina Faso, they look at the international market and export to us.
No, we are looking at Ghana.
Okay. No, I'm saying just the reverse, that they look here. So why shouldn't we also look outside?
You know, when I'm saying we shouldn't look outside, because which country are we looking at that there will be a demand for our tomato? Whilst we have not really, furnished our demand locally. Let me tell you one thing about export. You don't just export. You need to really understand that your local market is strong enough. Basically, export goes according to the excess or the surplus you have. You need to feed your local market very well. Burkina Faso, the reason why we are getting so much tomatoes from them is that they don't have any limitation in terms of their own tomato according to their local consumption. Morocco the same. Any other country you mention. Therefore, that is what you need to look at for. If Ghana is producing so much tomatoes, what international market are we looking at? Are they producing more than what we are producing? That is why I'm saying that we don't need to look at the international market regarding tomato production in Ghana. We are looking at how we can cut down the import instead. With the data or with the information, like I said, it's because I am looking at where I'm coming from as a scientist and stuff like that. For you to really understand and handle certain issues, you need to go out there to carry out what is called baseline studies.
Right.
Like I really gave an example, you need to speak to some people to really understand the way they want their food, the way they prefer. Okay. Then it informs you what is it that you need to store, what is it that you need to process, what is it that you need to give out there in terms of fresh. That is where you make a progress, as Mr. Kessy keeps saying, business. Okay, then you know that when I have 5 metric tons, 2 of them is going for this market, which is demanding, which is waiting. Another 2 is going to this market, and then the last one is also going to this market. So as a farmer, all your 5 metric tons is gone. Then you're making good business. But when this baseline studies is not being done for us to really understand how we can distribute our produce out there, then it become an issue. Some off-takers would like to maybe buy all your 5 metric tons to process them into whatsoever. That off-taker has also done his or her own baseline studies. And knowing that I have a target market that's looking for only processed tomato paste, only processed tomato syrup, only processed tomato whatsoever, tomato juices and stuff like that. Like what Mr. Kessy Rice said, our traders, our women that goes to Burkina Faso and all that, they know their off-takers, they know their buyers and all that. That is why Mr. Kessy also said that even if it is their last drop of blood, they don't care to go all the way out there, because somebody is sitting somewhere waiting to buy entirely everything that they managed to get from Burkina Faso. So they have done that studies in their own way over a period of time, over a number of years. They understanding that if I do this trade from Burkina Faso to Ghana, as soon as the trust gets into the borders of Accra, or sorry, the borders up north, somebody is right at the border buying entirely everything. Before we see Burkina Faso tomatoes in Accra, before we see them in Kumasi, before we see them in Takrady, whatsoever, in other locations, it has gone through a whole chain of handlers. The one who's taking out this quantity, the one who's the next person to pick it up, and it goes on and on. We need to really establish and really understand. I think I made mention, and I explained this in one of the media houses, that when we look at cocoa, there is a whole cocoa board that is handling almost every issue regarding cocoa. We should also have an institution, an organization that is championing and handling perishable produce. Grains and cereal, I think there used to be, I don't know whether they are still in existence, but you know, perishables is very, very, very critical. We need to have that organization that is handling horticultural issues, that is handling horticultural products. This is very, very, very important. Then we can really understand and we can really champion most of our perishable, products, looking at tomato most especially. When these things are not there, when we don't have these institutions, when we are always looking at how far Ghana Cocoa Board has come, which was established by our president. So we're looking at leadership. But when we put a lot of priority, when we respect so much so well on food and agriculture, all these things need to come into play. When you go to France, when you go to some other European countries, they have all these structures and institutions actively working. Therefore, every farmer knows that when I'm into perishable food production, this board is patronizing, this institution is off-taking, and it goes on and on. Ghana Cocoa Board, they buy cocoa beans from farmers. Where does it go? We know wherever it goes. So when you are a cocoa farmer, everybody says you are a rich person. All because there's Ghana Cocoa Board. As soon as the cocoa beans is ready, there's an off-taker. The cocoa crutch is coming over to come and weigh the quantity of beans, either pay you upfront or maybe they have their own system where you finally get your money. Do we have the same in the perishable foods industry? This has to be established. Apart from that also, you know, right from the beginning, I think maybe a moment to come, that's where I would dive a bit more into agronomy. Looking at seeds. I am thinking and I am believing so much so well that this is a very special moment, an opportunity for Honorable Eric Opoku, the minister, his deputy, for them to look at our indigenous varieties of tomatoes. I remember so much so well back in time, our indigenous tomatoes that we used to have. Ghana have what is called the beef tomato. The beef tomato, it is popularly known in France. It is popularly known in some other European countries that they do a lot of tomatoes. But we soon forgotten that we also have it. I have seen it before. Wenchi farmers back in time, the kind of tomatoes that they were producing back in time, you could see a size of tomato so huge and big that even when you are using to prepare your soup, you don't need so much of it. Just about 2 of it is enough. All these varieties, you know, you don't see it anymore because we are rather bringing in some other varieties that is really pushing our indigenous varieties away, which is wrong. We need to make sure that our seed banks, it is having our indigenous tomatoes once again. I'm sure there are a lot of farmers over there in Winchi, over there in Akumadan and what have you. They still have the seeds of these indigenous varieties. It is an opportunity to bring them back. I even also advise the ministry strongly, even looking at the Akoko Nkiti initiative, that it is also an opportunity to bring back our local breeds of chickens. Not necessarily bringing in imported ones as an example. We are not talking about poultry anyway, but it's an example. You know, if a government is trying to fix a problem or trying to bring up a solution, we need to fix the problem right from the bedrock, making sure that what we used to have back in time, we should use that opportunity to bring it back gradually and add or top up with something new, which is, of course, done everywhere. I agree with that. That is what needs to be done. But I think a time will come for me to discuss much more about it. But for now, in response to the question that came up, we need to really make sure that we have the information. We know who is looking for that, Then we know that when the producer of the tomato, his quantities are ready, he knows which quantity goes to that person, which quantity goes to that person. So much restaurants and hotels are looking for fresh tomatoes all the time because of the way they use it to prepare their meals and all that. So that is how it's supposed to be.
Right. In fact, for a submission, and I mean, know about, I can tell you are big into indigenous systems, indigenous products.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure with your seeds advocacy from your research, you go a lot more into the indigenous seeds that we might have forgotten. Those ones, I'm sure they're able to resist, they are disease resistant.
You know, Her Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Jane Nano-Poku-Agyeman, not too long ago, I think about a week or two, a speech that was read on her behalf was agroecological approaches, making sure that she is advising the Agriculture Ministry through the flagship program, that is the Feed Ghana initiative, that they need to mainstream so much so well agroecological approaches in everything that the Feed Ghana initiative is championing, not only tomato, but entirely every crop. It informs, and that is where I'm picking my conversation from. It starts right from the seed. It should be a healthy seed. It should be non-GMO seeds, and it should be our indigenous seeds. And that is where we have the assurance that when we go to the field and we are producing, we are growing some of these seeds right from the beginning, we are going to achieve healthy and sustainable tomato production, healthy and successful any other perishable crop that we are producing. That's where it starts from. You know, but when you don't have the right seed, when you are bringing in a seed where you are not too sure whether our ecological systems really support that seed, then you are compelled to be using so many synthetics inputs in going about your farming activities, which is a very, very, very dangerous. You know, that's where the dangers are. So with agroecological approach, we are looking at a system where we are making sure natural cycles is in existence in every place that we are growing food. Natural cycles, what am I talking about? We are looking about nitrogen sequestration, we are looking at carbon sequestration, we are looking at biodiversity and ecosystem services. These are the things that need to exist at places where every tomato cultivation is supposed to be, any other perishables or any other foods, grains and cereal that is supposed to be. That's to really ensure that we are consuming and we are producing healthy foods. We don't have to produce so much food where it gets into a glut and these foods that we are producing are not healthy. How do we produce these foods? With the initiative or with the targets of the Agriculture Ministry through the Minister, looking at achieving tomato production so much so well within the next few months.
If I was going to ask a direct question before I go on break.
Okay.
On Remaining, so let me just start, and there's a yes or no answer for it. We'll take a break and we'll come and explain.
Good.
And since you intro, let me start with you. Do you think we can end our dependence on import in tomato within 4 months? Just yes or no?
I would say yes.
Yes. Let me take from Mr. Jankese.
Independency in 4 months?
Yeah, 4 months. Yes or no?
Are we talking about 2026, 2027 season?
Yes.
And what would that mean? Because you see, it's not a
no,
simple
not the
yes.
explanation. Is that yes or no?
I don't think so.
So you're inclined
we can get production that will feed the markets now, but it's not really the sustain.
Okay, so you think no, Dr. Basey thinks yes. So I'll take a very short break here. When we come back, we're going to go into the yeses and the nos. Why Dr. Basey thinks that we can achieve this very ambitious goal of the minister in the next 4 months, and why Mr. Jankesi thinks that, maybe we can, but not in 4 months. You're still listening to the Focus on Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio. You can still send your comments and contributions to our WhatsApp line 0544 321019, 0544 321019, or you can send also your comments on our social media handles, that Zed Multimedia or ZFMGH on Facebook. We'll take a very short break here. Do not go away.
Zed 101.9
If we replace Kweku with Ghana, we're also traveling. Now, before the break, we had to answer the question of whether Ghana can end its dependency on imports within 4 months. Dr. Besi Jr. says yes, we can end that. So he's saying that within 4 months or after 4 months, we can boldly hit our chest as Ghanaians and say that our imports from Burkina Faso, that 22 million or so each year we give to Burkina Faso by way of imports, we're going to put it to an end. Benjamin says that he's not too sure. We need to look a bit more at other things. Admittedly, he's not saying it is not impossible, but he thinks that the 4 months is probably too ambitious. And while we're offline, we're heatedly arguing their position. So I'll give you the chance. So let me start with, I always like to start from the yes to the no. So Dr. Besi, let's hear you why you think that in 4 months, this position of the minister is possible.
There's a saying in our own Ghanaian language that when a blind man tells you, if you mess up with me, I'm going to stone you. You don't tell yourself that, but you're blind, where is the stone? Look, the foot is on the stone.
He knows what his leg is on.
The foot is on the stone. He will quickly bow, pick up the stone, and he's going to hit you and hit you hard.
Yeah.
The Agriculture Ministry, through the Minister Eric Opoku, wouldn't have come boldly to talk about ending imports of tomato the next couple of months. We're looking at 4 months, the duration given. Let's start from the genesis. Before this government came into power, and I will need every listener, viewer not to mistakenly look at it from a political perspective. Everybody should pardon me for that. But some of us, with the experts, before we say yes or no, we look at it from a very long distance. When our president now, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, was campaigning everywhere, even before the campaign period of the NDC, some interviews that he have had in his office, he has spoken a lot about the influx of tomato coming from Burkina Faso. He started these conversations very early, even before the campaign period started, before this government came to office. The president himself also, as almost everybody knows, he is a farmer.
Yeah.
He has a lot of interest in farming. Yeah. I think social media was able to chance on some of the videos and pictures of his farm.
Okay.
And he has also openly expressed his interest in farming, even made mention that when he retired from politics, he will get into full-time farming. It has been his passion. When he came to office, with whatever he wants to achieve, he talking about the import of tomatoes from Burkina Faso. He needs to make sure that he's putting somebody in place who will really help him to achieve all what he has been saying regarding the import of tomatoes from Burkina Faso. So he brought in Eric Opoku, Honorable Eric Opoku. Let's look at Honorable Eric Opoku, who he is. He is also a farmer. He is a son of a cocoa farmer, and he was born into farming. He has been into farming almost his entire life, in addition to all the education he has had and all that. Looking at his approach in agriculture when he came to office last year, 2025, up to now, very quickly he started working towards the limiting factors that farmers or producers are having regarding tomato. Believing so much so well that when he quickly worked it out from that angle, we will be able to have the drop and consequentially entirely not bringing in tomatoes from Burkina Faso anymore. I remember so many years back, not so many years back, but previous government, we went as far as bringing tomatoes from Morocco, which was horrible.
Yeah.
they sat back and they put all measures in place that should they come into office, this and that is what they are going to put into place. Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, one of the biggest farmer-based organizations. The ministry, that is the minister himself, is working closely with this organization. The Peasant Farmers Association has been in existence for so many years now. And like I said, they are the biggest farmer-based organization in the whole Ghana. They are everywhere in Ghana. All of these measures were factored in. Let's look at Honorable John Dumelo, the Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture. Mm-hmm. We also know his passion for agriculture.
Yeah.
Way back before he started politics, we all chanced on so many things that he was doing in farming. You know, encouraging the youth to go into farming. And he was demonstrating it himself. He was visiting as many farmers as he could. He was even getting himself involved with what the farmers are doing, the farm owners are doing and all that, trying to get the youth. You know, his intentions was that let's not see farming to be for the old age people. Let's not see farming to be for the less privileged, school dropouts, etc., etc. No. He was using his personality as who he is, that he loved farming, as young as he is, and his past experience in the movie industry. He has, you know, he's well-known, people like him so much, and he's going into farming. So let's go together. All my followers, those who like me so much, this is what I'm into. Let's all do this together. And he demonstrated that. Before he even started politics and all that. No wonder he is now the deputy minister. You know, so putting his shoulders behind the minister himself, who is also a farmer, and we are looking at a challenge that the country is facing for so many years now. That is the import of tomatoes from Burkina Faso. They started very early. Look, with John Dumelo himself, I know very well that he has done so much work regarding tomatoes. He goes up north, the Polugo Enclave, to talk to tomato farmers. That was way back last year, encouraging them to do dry season farming. He was even using his own funds to support these farmers for them to go into dry season tomato production. The minister, out of his flagship program, the Feed Ghana initiative, has really catch up and tally the whole country. You know, he was touring everywhere in Ghana, introducing and talking about the Feed Ghana initiative. And he was able to speak to so many organizations, faith-based organizations, all the various schools, as Mr. Kessie keeps saying. As many security services also, I've been saying this all the time, pushing them and encouraging them to have farming as part of their work. You know, Eric Opoku was looking at food security in general, how Ghana will be self-sufficient in food and in our own food, of course. He started this last year, and he kept on pushing, and the focus is there, making sure that all what he's pushing for, the timeline that he has given himself, he should be able to achieve it. When we had this issue with our traders who go to Burkina Faso, the insurgents attack that they had, you know, the picture that these traders were painting, on one of the media houses, I also really made mention that the picture that these traders are making, we should be careful. It is not really as true as they are talking about, that without them, there wouldn't be tomatoes in Ghana, which is never true. We still have our local farmers produce tomatoes, regardless. When you go to Wenchi, when you go to Akumadan and what have you, we still have our farmers producing tomatoes, regardless the influx from the Burkina Faso tomatoes. When we realized that these women were not going to Burkina Faso because of whatever happened to them, we were still seeing tomatoes on the market. So what was the threat, quote unquote, or what were they talking about to scare everybody that there's no tomato in Ghana? There was still tomatoes. That is their trading business, or that's their trading strategy and all that. But
you rightly mentioned the commitment of our ministers.
Absolutely, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
So the commitment that he made, one of it is to make sure that all the input that farmers are in need of, he makes sure he provide them with all these inputs and getting them into the tomato production. That look, let's go into tomato production once again, so that it would not encourage you to not get this woman to still go into Burkina Faso. Look at the dangers that they go through and all that. Other stakeholders also quickly got interested, and they are also looking at how they can invest into, our tomato farm for them to produce more, because we know that tomato consumption is so high in Ghana. Everybody consumes tomato. Every food that we consume over here in Ghana has tomato content in that food that we consume. So the demand is so high. So it makes a lot of sense for investors to look at it, that if our farmers can produce it, why don't I pump in some investment in these farmers? Because as soon as their tomatoes are ready, there's a ready market and so on and so forth. They will make their investment back. All these things are underway. And the projection that has been given, it tells or it indicates that the next 4 months that the ministry is talking about, we can achieve it. But we need to believe in ourselves. Okay? Believing in ourselves that yes, when people are asking that question has been all over the place. Everybody, our folks in diaspora and what have you, they keep on saying that, why is it that Ghana we are bringing in so much tomato that we can't produce it? The ministry and then the minister are putting the initiatives so that we can do this. And when we believe in ourselves in that era or in that trend, then we can understand and know that when we hit the 4th month, as the duration given, that is where it starts. Because those who are producing now or those who started producing last year, the system as well they are producing, it keeps on going on and on. Now, after the 3rd into the 4th month, they are still producing. So that is why it starts. So let's get understanding properly. At the 4th month, the influx of it cuts off. And then it goes on and on, because the investors...
Let me ask you, beyond the minister making this commitment to us, this is a whole value chain, if I may put it. You have spoken about the mindset, the thought, the willpower. But you know that the way our system works is beyond just a willpower, a decision, or a love for doing it. Did the minister put across any policy or any created structure to show that, okay, this was followed? Because indeed, we all can agree that we want A, but it's something that the system itself won't even allow you to have it. And again, we are looking at the public, the country as a whole. If it had been, let's say, the minister's house or his own farms, he can easily take that decision. But that's a nationwide thing. Do you think the minister might need to put in a policy or any even blueprint on how we're going to achieve this, beyond us realizing the need for us to be able to cut off imports?
Just last week or two, we chanced on a video, or we chanced on a news item of the Agriculture Ministry getting some task force that were recruited. And this task force are going to work closely with extension agents. This task force is going to work closely with other, chain actors in the agriculture sector to make sure that our agriculture systems is going the appropriate, is going the right way. For instance, the reason why this task force were recruited and they have been, dispatched or they have been deployed to all the farming growing areas say that the input initiative that the ministry is giving to farmers, we know how indisciplined and how stubborn some farmers could be. They would like to resell to make money, or they would like to get it through their those who are close to our neighboring borders and all that. All of these things will be checked, making sure that whatever benefits you are getting from the ministry, so far as the government is concerned, you are really channeling it into what is being meant for. So there's some kind of consistent monitoring. And this is one of the policy and this is one of the initiatives that has been instituted as we speak now. And it is something that, which I think is in the right way, because when those things are not put into place, for instance, I will still use the cocoa sector as an example. When you tend to smuggle cocoa out of the shores of Ghana, that doesn't go to Cocoa Board. We all know what happens to you.
Yeah.
The Ghana Cocoa Board have instituted that policy that every cocoa in Ghana is for the government for whatever reason it is. So, smuggling of cocoa is a no-no. Although people are being smart to do that, but when you are being caught, you all know what happens to you. So it is something that, let's say, the cocoa board have put into place to make sure that all our cocoa, we are having it. Because cocoa board is subsidizing a lot to farmers, giving them fertilizers and what have you, helping cocoa farmers to rehabilitate their old cocoa farms and so on and so forth. All these monies that goes into that, the government need to get it back.
Yeah.
And that is one thing. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture is also doing something similar.
Okay.
So it's an example, it's an instance that we are making sure that whatever the government is investing in our existing tomato farmers and other farmers, it is really serving its purpose and it is coming back to the government so far as farming and agriculture is concerned in Ghana. So that is one. As I keep saying, to continue with what I'm talking about, when, for instance, such thing is being put into place, and the ministry can make a projection, or the minister can make a projection that putting all these structures and all the systems into play, by the time we are in the 4th month, right from now, we should be able to achieve a situation where whatever is coming from Burkina Faso need to cut off. Let's not also forget that not too long ago, even after the insurgents incident happened to the woman going to Burkina Faso, the president, Ibrahim Traore, even made mention that they wouldn't like to give their tomatoes to anyone again because they've also started processing their tomatoes and all that, so they wouldn't like to reduce the quantity that has to feed the factories. And government need to have some interventions and so on and so forth so we can still get some tomatoes. Now look at what Burkina Faso stated. They say that they would not export any tomatoes anymore. Therefore, it also tells us that we shouldn't still depend on tomatoes coming from Burkina Faso or tomatoes coming from anywhere. Because the ministry of that country or the president of that country can just make a decision. You can't stop them because they need to also make sure that they are self-sufficient in whatever that commodity is. We need to do so. And that is more reason why so much effort was put into play. And I'm talking about the peasant farmers. I give an example, the biggest farmer-based organization in Ghana. They are doing so much so well with all the effort that they are getting from the ministry. Therefore, we should and we will be able to achieve this dream. And it will start from that period, from that moment. It doesn't mean that but the timeline given, it will end over there and then we'll bounce back to Burkina Faso. No. Right. Systems and structure have been put into play that from that 4th one going, then we'll have that achievement being made where we will not be getting tomatoes or going to tomato buying enclave in Burkina Faso to bring tomatoes again.
Absolutely. So last, what you're saying is that by November, dear, we'll be done with Burkina Faso.
By November, we'll be done. That's the beginning. It will start from November.
Yes.
So we can tell that from 2027 going, all the tomatoes or most of the tomatoes that we'll see that
will be from Ghana
will be out. And why can't we achieve this? Are we not empowering farmers in Ghana? Are we not empowering tomato farmers? Are we not rather even getting more business people, those who are investing in these tomato traders? Are they not? Is it not even much cheaper, much affordable for them to now even invest in our own tomato farmers? Because transporting, using those trucks all the way from, I don't know whether they come from Accra or whatever, all the way to Burkina Faso by road. Look at the dangers in there. And if the ministry is targeting this, what are you sitting down waiting for as an investor? What are you sitting down waiting for as a regular tomato trader who goes to Burkina Faso all the time? And you can just drive a few hours to a tomato farmer to pick up all his tomatoes. You can just walk up to maybe some of the farms to buy all their tomatoes, which will even save you with money. And take it to your retailers or whatever you want to take it to, and that's it. So it gives the challenge. It also challenges everyone who is in the tomato business, the chain actors, for them to say that, wow, if we are going to have our tomatoes from our own farmers, it's much better for us. It's much more affordable as well.
Absolutely. I like your optimistic spirit and I like your nationalistic spirit, Dr. Basie. Let me turn to Mr. Jankese.
Yes, sir.
You answered on the no side. I mean, you've heard Dr. Basie's extensive argument, which, yes, is very optimistic and that is the right or ought to be the right way to go? What do you think?
So I'm just going to be a bit bullish here.
Yeah.
And say that listening to Dr. Basie, I think if that is what we're going to base the argument on, then I'm going to be an emphatic no. Because personally, looking at what has happened in the space, and I always say I'm young, I've been in deep in this space for as most part of my life. This will, for me, be like vibes and inshallah and sound bites. Basically, that is what we're doing. But let's look at it this way. I decided to put something down for this particular part. When we say that we want to have a major increase in production within 4 months, it is possible. But permanent self-sufficiency within 4 months is unlikely, unless we define exactly what that is. Because you see, based back to what Dr. Basie said earlier, what data are we working with? What's the baseline from here that we're working with, right? So the government, the minister, is he saying, well, how is he defining the self-sufficiency? Is it only in fresh tomatoes? You know, you raised that, Dr. Basie, earlier, because who wants to consume what?
Yeah.
So is it only in fresh tomatoes? Does it include tomato paste and concentrates? What baseline production and the demand figures are we using here?
Yeah.
You see, so this target should be clear enough, well defined with the baseline measurement, so that we can hold people accountable by December, saying these are the numbers you gave us, these were the clear objectives, timelines you gave us, we have missed it. Why? It is not just holding people accountable, but then also gives us opportunity to learn where we did well, where we did not do well, so that in 2027, 2028, we put our acts together and position ourselves to do better and make sure that we are really forging ahead to do that. In 4 years with the right systems, when it talks about irrigation and all of that, because you see, when you look at it, and Dr. Basie is an expert than I am. I talk agribusiness and all the kind of crazy stuff, innovations and all of that. But if you look at it, for instance, the production seasonality here is key. Various ecological zones in Ghana, you mentioned that earlier, which is key, and that also impacts all of these things. So who is producing what at what season, what quantities, how many farmers are in there, what are the irrigation sites that are now active or that are going to be activated. All of these are real conversations that needs to come up for us to say we are confident and hitting our chest that in 4 months we can make this happen. But for me, if you say 4 years and you put all of these things then together, then it's right. We talk about seed. You talk about the beef, what do you call it, variety in the past. How are we, for instance, working with WAKI at University of Ghana to make sure that if there was a problem, and I do not know so much about that, but if there were problems, disease, susceptibility to weight and all of that, how are they going to help us to make sure that now they become disease resistant? Because our soils have changed, ecology has changed. All of these things play a very huge impact. Fragmented volumes, 1 acre here, 2 acres there, and all of that. These are all real challenges. So how are we positioning ourselves to make sure that we're putting it together so that we know that, okay, when you go to Akumadan, even though we have fragmented volumes, when we map the land sizes, the number of farmers, we can say that for 10,000 farmers in Akumadan, we have X hectares, thousands of hectares, and this is the projection with this particular variety of seeds is going to give us that tonnage. That helps us to really hit our chest and say, we are going somewhere. When we go to Wenchi, we know what is happening in Wenchi. When we go to Agogo, we know what is happening to Agogo. For me, if you're not giving me all the data in this area, then you're giving me that feeling that, yes, it is great soundbite, you have the commitment to do it, but how we really look into it to be able to say in 4 months we'll be able to do that. That is where I am a bit skeptical.
But isn't that taking more of an academic approach, which people will say it will be a book long approach and nothing will happen other than maybe let's go with the, as you say, the inshallah buga vibe and let's see how we can get this done. Because if at Ghana's independence, we had some people saying the shortest possible time, maybe we would have been here by now, still waiting for shortest possible. Somebody said now. And indeed, he was able to achieve that. It came with problems, admittedly, but at least we got some results. So, yes, even though your position is still right, isn't it that which we have done all this while? Let's look at the data. Let's give ourselves some time, some 3 years. Then government will change hands. Then it falls off. Next government comes, they don't continue. Then a good initiative falls by the wayside.
So my thinking on this is that we have data, and when I say get the data, I'm not saying we're now going to collect the data. I believe strongly MOFA, by its operations from district levels, they have data. I believe so. I want you to speak to that data to convince me that you have looked at the data, you've analyzed the data, and you have a plan on how you are applying that data, that information, for this solution that you are actually telling us. And I haven't heard anything of such, because you see, Dr. Bessie said something in his conclusion that this is a good business opportunity and he's going to ask people to join. Yes, join based on what? And that is the question as a business person I'll ask. Show me the data point. That zeal, that announcement, that soundbite should be telling me that because of A, B, C, D, E, when you go to Eastern region, there is this a group of farmers with these hectares of land that can be able to do X. But what these are the missing links. These are where we are looking for people to put in money. These are the business opportunity, or this is what government intends to do. You know, so that for me gives me that hope. As an expert, as a practitioner in the space, I believe 4 months we can increase considerably production and reduce the imports. But to say totally no imports, that is also going to be, in my opinion, it is going to be a stretch. Unless we are speaking to the data and giving some convincing, in terms of plan. Otherwise, yes, we can increase, but to say zero imports, because if you say zero imports, it means that there's not going to be imports in tomato paste, right? Because you said tomatoes, because then it is the universe of tomatoes. But which factories do you have in this country to say that you will not be able to, you're not going to import tomato paste? Because you have the likes of the GB Foods, the Promocidors, and all of that. How are you working with all of these organizations, these FMCGs, to really plug them into this plan? You see, and that's for me, that is what I want to hear, to be fully convinced that this can work.
Interesting. And sorry, Doctor, were you going to say something?
Yes. What I would like to say is that, in addition to achieving this, we need to be disciplined. Discipline, plays a very important role. Let's look at a country like China. It is discipline that has brought China this far.
Right.
For them to be who they are.
Right.
China is everywhere in the world now. They are doing everything. The kind of discipline that was instituted by a leader in China, regardless whatever challenges that they were going through when they were straightening up their country. So many years back, everybody knows the history. Definitely, there will be some rough edges, but we need to understand why those rough edges are there. It is different from where you don't understand why. As you also cite an example, way back when our very first president wanted us to achieve an independence.
Yeah.
Everybody was saying, not now, but he said now.
Yeah. And he even broke free, set up his own party, and achieved it now.
And he achieved it. Definitely, it didn't go on well with some people. But today, we've realized that it has gone on very well. When Dr. Kwame Nkrumah wanted to build Tema, when he wanted to put up the Tema Harbor, or maybe expand it for it to be a real full harbor, he needs to relocate some people that were very close to where he wanted to expand and grow the Tema port. He needs to relocate them. And he needs to do it with force. This also have some kind of bitterness and history with those people, even as we speak. But today, the Tema port is there. It has been developed. Subsequent government have made it much more better in order. But Kwame Nkrumah started it. Let's see this as the beginning, as I keep saying. It is the quick start. And let's be disciplined enough to go along with. We're talking about tomato paste. It has come to the realization of most consumers, Ghanaians, that a lot of the tomato paste we are consuming doesn't have real tomatoes. It is having some synthetics, a lot of synthetics, and then including some other flour that have been mixed up and so on and so forth. You know, all these issues and all these challenges is still with us. But I always keep on saying that it is not just what we are consuming. If you're preparing, let's say, a jollof rice, you always like to use a tomato paste. That makes the jollof rice a real jollof rice.
Yeah.
But is that tomato paste having real tomatoes?
Is that tomato paste tomato?
Is it having real tomatoes? So when we tend to believe and understand that discipline, and we are looking at our agri-food systems, that whatever I'm consuming should be a real food, the primary source should be a real food source, then we have to believe and understand that that is how it's supposed to be. If, for instance, I need to prepare this very meal that I made mention, jollof rice, I need to go get fresh tomatoes and blend it up in my blender and use it to prepare my jollof rice. I'm trying to get something healthy. Instead of go getting tomato paste that you are not too sure whether it is real tomatoes. It's already in a paste form. It is much easier to prepare that meal. We should be careful and we should be disciplined enough. And let's take our health and well-being also as a priority. And believe in this initiative that tomato, if we're looking at a duration, a timeline that is going to be our own and it wouldn't come from no one else's, as part of being sovereign, as part of, you know, having food security and consuming our own, whatever we are producing on our own, we should be disciplined enough to go along with.
Indeed, we need a discipline more than ever. Mr. Jankes, let me come back to you. I mean, the concerns you raise admittedly are very valid. In fact, the part you even spoke of, how many factories do we have to be able to produce all of these forward products of tomato fats? We are ending imports. And you know, most of these factory imports are very big business for them. But let me find out for now, let's look at the concerns you raise, solutions to them. You work with a lot of institutions and a lot of these innovative hubs, which you're seeking to create some innovative change in society. Now, these concerns, assuming you were solving them, how are you going to go about them?
First of all, I won't give myself 4 months. And if I was giving myself 4 months, I was going to tell you exactly what will happen in 4 months.
Okay.
And I think that is where, for me, the concerns are.
Yeah.
And the discipline that Dr. Besi talked about should also come from even the whole announcement.
Right.
Ghana is going to achieve major increase in production, potentially not to get export in 2026, 2027 season. And this is what we are putting in place. See, already you are sending the signal as a leader, and that is basic. That if I were the minister making that announcement, that is how I would go about it. So set the tone with exactly what the plan looks like, so that I get everybody following that plan.
Right.
And I say by the next 4 months, this is where we'll be, and then to what Dr. Besi said, we'll pick it up from the next 4 months when we've been able to increase about 90% or fill the gap by 90%. This is what we're going to be doing. We are going to be working with organizations that are doing this. We're going to be working with seed scientists. We're going to be working with, so those are the things that for me I would want to see. I would want to see even tomorrow a national convening on tomato, if we want to be serious, so that we can actually get the information. Whilst the whole idea of pushing production is ongoing for the next 4 months, we are also on the other side working with the industry players, understanding the real issues and how we can fix it. Because one, we are trying to do fresh produce, get to the market, reduce importation. That is the ideology, and we're working on that, and it is ongoing. On the side, I am also working with other people to say, in the next 3.5 years, how do we stop all of this? For the FMCGs that are bringing in tomato paste, I want you to produce that here. How do I help you? What kind of guarantees? What kind of facilities do you need? What kind of engineering do you need? How does the ministry help you? How does the other government agencies also help you? Because, see, I always talk about agriculture and food. Food is not one person's business. It is a multi-sector business. But most of the time, we're looking at a Ministry of Food and Agriculture business. No. It is a multiple ministry business. Yeah. And let us approach it from that side. For me, the moment we start doing that, it gives me some level of confidence that yes, in 4 years, this whole industry becomes a Ghana industry. And you asked a question about exporting to other countries. Yes, exporting to other countries, but we need to know which countries, because not every country eats as much tomatoes as Ghana do. In Ghana, almost every meal has a tomato. In many countries, you will not get tomatoes in a lot of the meals. So that is also. So these are the points that I just want to say for now.
Interesting thoughts on whether we can achieve self-sufficiency. I think at the baseline, we both agree that we can achieve the sufficiency. We both agree. Both agree that we must achieve sufficiency. But what we disagree on is the time frame, which I guess, no matter what, we should be able to get to that point. Absolutely. Thank you very much for your insight. Maybe let me take your final words. If you were to speak to the minister, or to speak to government on this issue of tomato self-sufficiency, what are they going to be? Let me start with Doctor.
First of all, the ministry need to really focus on sustainable farming activities. It is key. When we are talking about sustainability, it is not just about production. It's not just about bringing these fresh tomatoes to the market. It's not about feeding the tomato manufacturing companies with tomatoes. We are looking at consistent production, the flow. We have smallholder farmers in Ghana, a lot of them. For instance, these Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. These are smallholder farmers. And smallholding farmers are for a purpose. I basically even advocate for smallholder farming activities because it wouldn't compel you to overexploit your land. It will compel you to practice sustainable farming activities to make sure that that very small piece of land that you are growing your food can still continuously provide you whatever you are producing, whatever you are planting and all that. So it compels you, the producer, it compels you, the farmer, to make sure that you are practicing agroecological approach. An agroecological approach, as I made mention, you are making sure your soil is healthy all the time. You are not using synthetic inputs to deplete your soil. You are not also using systems where you pave way for invasive insects that will compel you to be using heavy pesticides that you end up poisoning the food that you are producing, also having negative impact on the environment. It is also very, very important. So you need to make sure that you are growing your food in a system where you are having what is called diversity of other plants. In this case, we are looking at some trees and some other useful plants that needs to be around to support and promote whatever you are growing, so that you can have the natural cycles. You can have the system where what is called soil food web is existing in your farm. Biodiversity ecosystem services really existing, where you are not breaking the cycle in any way, so that you can continuously produce whatever you are producing. These are the bases, these are the fundamentals, these are the strong foundation that will guarantee and enhance that you are producing sustainably, so that you don't come to an end of whatever you are producing to abandon your land to move to another location. You might do the same, and after some number of years, you've messed up a lot of arable lands. This is not the approach, and this is not the way to go. Therefore, the ministry should preach and advocate and get more experts in areas of agroecology to train and get farmers for them to mainstream that approach in their tomato production. That is what or that is the foundation as which we can really have the assurance that we can produce consistently and we can achieve these timelines and we can still go beyond this timeline. It will also give us the indication that we are not just producing tomatoes for consumption's sake, but we are producing healthy tomatoes. Because as Ghanaians as we are, as Mr. Kesi can also attest to the fact, we consume tomatoes a lot. So a commodity or a produce that we consume so much, so well a lot, it should be healthy. It shouldn't be synthetic. It shouldn't be contaminated. It shouldn't be poisoned. It should be as healthy as it is. And that is where I would like to really speak so loud and clear to the ministry for them to really focus on agroecological approach in growing our tomatoes. That will really help us to be sustainable, and that will really help us to achieve this timeline for us to go beyond.
Absolutely. Mr. Jankese, your final words?
Right. I mean, I detail doctor's position on the agroecology and sustainable production. It is key. We need to look at that. We also need to, as it were, look at working pari passu in trying to achieve these targets as we've set for ourselves. I said that we can focus on the making sure we are producing, increasing production, and making sure that there's some way of restriction, even if people going to bring import the tomatoes, and we should be clear on what we want to do by end of December or January next year, as in fresh tomatoes. Very clear, and we're working towards that, and we work to achieve that. Whilst that is ongoing, immediately we should have that conversation around how we are plugging in other people who are already in the industry. There are so many people playing in the industry, ecosystem players. Work with them so that you can plug people in a very efficient way, and project yourself that you want to have a sustainable and self-sufficiency and sovereignty maybe in the next 4 years. That is also that going. Now, question, and for me, in the areas that I work, which is very important to me, is the youth. How are you tapping into the young people? The young people have very innovative ideas on how they can just solve even these whole tomato issues. Put them in a room, talk to them. You'll be amazed the kind of solutions that they will provide for you. End to end. And I have worked in this space for 10 years. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to do that, because it's giving me always a renewed hope that the country has talent, but we're not really tapping into them in the right way. Set up, if I were the minister, I'll set up a tomato academy tomorrow. Put a criteria of people you want in there. They become your ambassadors. In the next 10 years, this become a very big legacy for the country. And we all can be looking back and say, look at us.
Right. In fact, I like your thoughts also on the young people you're working with. I mean, I must admit that. Currently, what projects are you guys working on?
We work so we have various programs that we run. We have one our flagship, we call Agritech Challenge. Okay. So we bring young people together from across the country, so in their various regions basically, and then we ask them to go out there, do market research in agricultural value chains. Pick a problem that you want to solve that has commercial value, because we are always looking at financial sustainability, and also the ESGs are also very important to us. And so over the past 10 years, this Agritech program has created a lot of startups that are working in the agricultural value chains and what we say agricultural adjacents. We have a program that we call the Women's Bootcamp, solely focused on women. So we go into the communities, we train them around agriculture. We also let them to think about agriculture as a business. And in some cases, work with some of our partners to give them some small loans at single digits that they pay. So an annual loan or repayment with 8%, you can just imagine, for the women. And the repayment has been amazing. They're doing so well.
Yeah.
We also have programs that we work, like I mentioned, we call the school farm. This year, working with 507 schools across the country. We work with these students because the whole idea is to change their mindset around agriculture. Let them see agriculture has a lot of opportunities and it's business, and it's a career path that they can choose. And when you talk about agriculture, it's a whole value chain. So if you're not doing the primary production, you could be doing inputs. And when I talk about inputs, we have some of our young entrepreneurs actually producing organic fertilizers from here. Some of them are doing so many interesting things. When you talk about carbon sequestration and carbon capture and all of that, some of them are already in these spaces that are doing it. So that's what gives me that hope that the young people are brilliant. They have so many things to give. Another program that we have is also the Young Farmer Business Academy. Young farmers who wants to go into production. And I think if we're talking about this particular getting into the self-sufficiency in the next 4 months, or increasing production by next 4 months, the Young Farmer Business Academy is an opportunity that even KIC and the ministry can work together, because as we speak now, we've mobilized for this year and the next year close to 12,000 young people across the country into setting production for other crop areas. But we can also do same for that. And that's why I say create a Tomato Academy. You'll be amazed what you can actually achieve from that. And last thing I'll talk about is, based on all the work we've done in the past 10 years, and the solutions that we've seen coming from mechanization, harvesters, seed, fertilizers, value addition and all of that, we've created what we call the Center of Excellence in Kumasi, a child near Ejuso. And that is a center that allows young people to come and play. It's a playground in the sense of intellectual playground. We have mechatronics and electronics, where you can do all kinds of engineering things. We have metal fabrication, we have wood fabrication, we have food innovation center, we have the card unit. This is actually a center that you can go and play with all your ideas and actually start prototyping from there, and also doing your first, second levels of commercial activities in there. So these are the kind of things that we do, and we will encourage many young people to check our website, KICGhana.org, or on our social media, Cosmos Innovations Center at all handles, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, etc. You can find us there, and just learn more about us and kind of give us a call. We're happy to have a conversation with you.
Absolutely, and I must say you're doing just something very excellent in agriculture. I'm sure Mother Ghana are very proud of you. Maybe there's a conversation worth having subsequently, but I guess there should be some partnership we as a media house can have with you guys to project in what you're doing. Because but for you telling me today, I wasn't aware of these excellent things. I guess there should be some partnerships we should be able to strike with you guys, so that we can also project what you're doing to the larger world.
And I must say that is a very important part of the work that we do in agriculture. Unfortunately, and I think that is also the reason why sometimes these kind of conversations do not get a limelight. Media don't really push agriculture, and especially the positive side of agriculture. And the story I told you that my mother wanted to get the church elders to pray for me, actually got the church elders to pray for me and convinced me not to go to agri school. It was because there's not much information out there. And like you said, if I weren't sitting in front of you today, you probably wouldn't know what is happening. And we get this a lot. Yeah. And we need to really be, and that's why I say the food business is not just one angle. Yeah. It's all of us in that food business.
Yeah. I mean, surely we'll have this conversation subsequently to see how best we can make some partnerships as a media house. Because I think that branding, just as agriculture has suffered negative branding, I think we must put in a lot of effort to put in positive branding to agriculture. We've had conversations on this show where we've realized that even when a person thinks of agriculture, as punishment. Because when you're in secondary school and you misbehave, what do? You go and weed. Yep. Or they take the school farms. Yep. Go and do everything. And so in your mind, I'm being punished to do this. Yep. So why then do I have to take it as a career? Yep. Think of a person who chose science, to read science in the school. If he doesn't do too well, what happens to him? They take him to that grade class. Because they say it's a science, but it is for the science boys who are not too sharp. So immediately you find yourself in that class, you are called a non-sharp. If I was in secondary school, a grade class was called Science 5. Oh. So, and the understanding was that Science 1 are the best, it graduates, but I think get Science 5 is the under. So,
I mean, you said the reason I'm laughing is that basically that's how I define a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And I think it's really wrong, and we need to change it.
Yes, I think we have to put in a lot of positive branding, which I'm sure we are committed. I teach some agricultural guys. I teach some at the master's level. I teach them some law, and I know they are doing something very excellent, but it's not going out there. You just go to the department, see them. You'd have seen somebody create a very good system, but it's just at the department. He finishes school and that's it.
Let me say this. Maybe I'm taking a bit of your time, but I'll say this. You know, have you seen the Innovation Enclave at the University of Ghana?
Yes, I think I've seen. Yes,
Just
I've seen them.
because
Yes.
you mentioned the law.
Yes.
We're just very close to
Yes,
the
I've
law.
seen them
Yes.
there. Yes.
We partnered with the University of Ghana to get those machineries and other things. And when you go in there, you'll be amazed what it does. So when we look at agriculture is a huge value chain. Even we talk about tomatoes and we talk about storage, we talk about crates, tomato crates. What kind of design of tomato crates that we can make to increase shelf life? All of these things are part of it, and it's engineering, it is precision, it is so. You see, maybe we'll talk about a lot of these things later.
Absolutely. I think we're enjoying the conversation too much. I mean, we're all people who have a keen interest in agriculture, and we all want to see its progress. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today, for spending your Saturday morning with us on having a conversation on tomato self-sufficiency and whether Ghana can end its dependence. At least at the baseline, we agree Ghana can, we must, and we should end the dependence, which I know that we're going to put in a lot of effort to do that. So thank you very much, Dr. Daniel Basie Jr., an organic agronomist and soil management expert. And thank you also, Mr. Benjamin John Kessie, who's Executive Director, Cosmos Innovation Center. And I urge everybody to visit their website, visit their pages, look at what they are doing. You may find something which is going to be of immense benefit to you. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to
Thank you.
Thank you very much to my cherished listeners and viewers who spent your Saturday morning with us having a conversation on Ghana and self-sufficiency of the tomato industry. In fact, I can't end my show today without saying a happy birthday to a very good friend of mine, Mr. Kobi Amwa, who celebrates his birthday today. Everybody's Kobi. Have a very good day and a happy birthday. We pray that the good Lord will bless you so much. Thank you all once more. Have a very good weekend. Always stay safe. Do that which Ghana will be very proud of you. God bless us all.